I looked successful, but on the inside, I was secretly battling imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, and self-doubt. I did not realize at the time, but it was severely holding back not only my potential, but also my team's, my growth, my earnings, and ultimately the company as well. When I stepped into confidence and developed a formula to create more lasting, sustainable confidence, the growth grew exponentially.
We're more technologically connected, right?
Yeah.
Than we have ever been before in human history. But even though we're more technologically connected, people are feeling this increased sense of disconnection and loneliness. That's why I developed my GRASP method. It's a simple 5-step framework to help leaders navigate these challenges with confidence and clarity.
Nobody buys from a faceless corporation anymore. The pandemic has changed a lot of the way we do business, and that's a good thing. Because we have to bring the humanity back. Your brand actually walks into the room before you do. And what does that mean? Well, people look you up online before they decide to do business with you. So they look at your credibility and your online reputation and then decide whether to do business with you or not.
Change is going to happen regardless if we want it to or not. It's about how can we embrace change with confidence so that we can go to that next level of success and ultimately tap into our greatest potential.
I'm just speechless. I'm still speechless right now at how impactful and inspiring she is.
And even if we have the best strategies in tech, without that connection that we're talking about, it's going to fail. It's going to fall flat.
Today is a great day to take action. In fact, there's never been a better day. Start now. Imagine learning directly from icons like Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, Les Brown, Jack Cranfield, and more, gaining the mindset and strategies to create true freedom and wealth. Today's guest is Daniel Wood, who has made this possible. As CEO and co-founder of the Swedish Wealth Institute, he connects ambitious entrepreneurs with top mentors through global summits, workshop, and his Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. Daniel's mission is simple yet powerful: to help people move beyond learning and into action, building wealth, confidence, and lasting impact. Get ready to unlock new levels of growth and freedom. Let's welcome Daniel Wood to the show. Daniel, thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thank you. And what a nice introduction. I have to live up to that now, don't I?
I know. I touted you up a little bit, right?
Oof, pressure. But we like pressure, right? Pressure makes diamonds.
That's right. Wow. I love your mission. And, you know, you and I had a conversation. It was just last week or the week before. And I was teasing you a little bit. I said, if you told your grandfather what you do for a living, would he even get it, right? And I thought that was kind of funny because I don't think mine would understand either.
No, we're in a weird new world where, like, first, I'd have to start by explaining what Zoom is, right? And
Wow.
we do things virtually, and then I'm working with entrepreneurs from all over the world, and I'm introducing them to these speakers who just talk about how to be more amazing. And I think it would be so weird to try to explain it to my my dear deceased grandpa. He would have no idea what I'm talking about and would probably just look at me and go, "Good, I hope you're happy, because I don't know what you're doing."
That's right. But I love your story. And I was kind of curious. You know, you and I have been friends for a while, but I had never actually asked you the origin story. Why did you get into this? Why is this important to you? Why does mentorship with extremely successful entrepreneurs, why is that relevant? Why did you build this platform? And I absolutely loved your answer. So before we get into the origin story, I do want to talk about what you're building right now to get people hyped up and excited about this movement you're creating. And then I want to talk about why you decided to start. So let's talk about what you're doing right now, because it is really exciting.
Well, I think so. We just wrapped up one of our 4-day summits. So it was actually the first 4-day summit we've done that targeted North America. which was really cool. It went over so well. We had about 20,000 people registered for this 4-day summit. And basically what we did, it's called Your Path to Financial Freedom, 7 Steps to Success. And so what we've done is we've brought together some of the most amazing speakers in the world to all come and speak at the same event. So we guided people through what we've, with the help of these speakers, set up as the 7 steps to success. So the first step is, we call it your GPS, and it's about, how do I get to where I want to go? Well, a GPS needs 3 parts. It needs to know, where are you starting from? Where is it you're trying to get to? And what vehicle are you going to use? And this is basically what the entire event was about, figuring out, this is where I'm at. How do we set goals? And our speaker for goal setting happened to be the legendary Brian Tracy, who shared about how do you properly set goals to get results. And then, we're talking about the vehicle, which is you, right? You're the vehicle. So we moved on to mindset, and we had the also legendary Dr. John DeMartini talk about how do we, get our mindset. And we had for artificial intelligence, we brought in the gentleman who talks about it for Virgin, who goes on Business Mastery and does that for Tony Robbins. And, we had Jack Canfield join us. We had Robert Kiyosaki join us. We had Les Brown join us. We had John Azareth was one of our speakers, Joseph McClendon III. And it was just such an action-packed event. Nick Vujicic, who is such an amazing person, joined us. And so it was just so fun to be able to connect our audience directly with speakers like this, because our mission isn't just, let's do 4 days and it'll be hype and we'll be excited and everyone goes away all motivated. We want to actually have lasting change. So the way we've done it is that each of these speakers, I kind of looked at it, if your life was a book, the hard part is to figure out, what is my next chapter going to be? Right? How am I going to figure out how to get through this latest challenge I have? Because Brian Tracy said it so well on a speech many years ago when I saw him speak. He said, life is a series of problems. And every 3rd problem is a bigger problem. We call that a crisis. So life is essentially problem, crisis, problem, crisis, problem, crisis, which means everyone you meet in life is either in a crisis, has just had a crisis, or is about to have a crisis. Which is...
I'm so uplifted right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not having a crisis right now. Uh-oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
But so what we're trying to do is not just, give you the motivation and inspiration to get through the crisis, but actually talk to someone that has, they haven't just lived the next chapter. They've written the entire book, and they might have even written, the 2 follow-ups for the trilogy. And they will see, and I'll talk about how Kim Kiyosaki did this for me. They will see, like, what is it you need to do to take that step? So at the summit, I always say we get out of the way and introduce people directly to the speakers. So like Les Brown shared his personal email address with our audience so that they could email him and say, Les, this is my situation. What can you and your team do to help me? And, we had Andy Gupta, who spent 20 years as a Wall Street analyst and managed, funds of billions of dollars, give out his personal WhatsApp number and say, hey, text me if you need help. And I will give you all, I'll give you the support I can. And it just became this ridiculous connection where people have personal access to some of the legends of the industry to help figure out, like, all right, how do I get through my next chapter?
I love that. So often we think about so far in the future, so far in advance, and it really is sometimes just the next step. It's the one next choice, the one next decision, the one next chapter.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to think about something so far in advance and get derailed, stop taking action because you get overwhelmed. Yeah. So I'm a personal, fan and advocate of just that small compound steps, right? That are, the baby steps. I think that it works for me, certainly. And I love the fact that your program, introduces entrepreneurs to people who have already done that next step and the next one and the next one and the next one. Because don't we all just need that mentorship?
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice. And again, I'll tell my origin story because this is where this comes from. But it's just so amazing when you're in this problem that feels insurmountable, or you've been trying to figure this out for years, and you've done all these courses and you've done all these trainings and you've read all these books, and it's like nothing's happening. Like, what is wrong with me, right? You start going like, why am I not able to do this? All these other people are, but I'm not. I am not enough. And then you get to sit down with someone who, just take Jack Canfield. Say you're that dream that you're like, I'm not getting through, is to be an author, right? As an example, Jack Canfield got turned down by, I think it was like 100 different, 100 different publishing houses. And he must have felt the same way, right? And then, the book came out, and it wasn't an overnight success. He had a program that he and his team implemented. Like, this is how we're going to work. And, they were doing things every single day that finally it broke them through. And finally it became Chicken Soup for the Soul, which is one of the most sold books in the history of the world. But it didn't happen by chance. It happened because he took a bunch of conscious actions, and most of them at the beginning were wrong. And he refined and refined and refined. And now what happens is when an author comes to our event and is in that situation where he was at the beginning, and where so many are, they can listen to him, and he says, well, look, this is all the stuff we tried. This is what works. If you do this, you'll be on a much better position, and you can take your next step. And that's just one of the 20 speakers, right? Wherever you're falling short, one of them will have been through it. And you will be able to ask that person, okay, how do I get past this? How do I take that next step?
Oh, I love that approach. That is so powerful. And so when I asked you last week or the week before, whenever that was, when we talked, I said, how did you get into this? Right? Because what you're doing is so unique.
Yeah.
I get invited to virtual summits every single day, and they all sound the same. It's cookie cutter. It's boring. It's the same approach. It's people you've never heard of. Can I really trust these are authorities? And what I love about your approach, we know them. They're household names. We see the proof of concept.
Yeah.
All of that information is readily accessible online. You can look up any of these people and immediately know what they've done. I mean, you're talking to billionaires. You're talking to people that have literally changed the industry or industry they're in.
Yeah.
How did you get started? I would love to hear why this is so important to you and the origin of all of this.
Yeah, and I'll share both kind of, how, because it all starts with getting into that inner circle. So I'll share how I got into it, and then, why we set it up this way, because I agree. The whole summit setup is horrible, and it's boring, and I think the promoter that puts together is basically just abusing everyone else, because that's what happened when and that's not how we started the company, and I'll tell the story in a moment. But when our speakers started pushing me to do these summits, because the promoters make lots of money, and they're like, dude, we want you to get out there. Come on. I said no over and over again. And finally I said, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it my way. And this is what we created. Because what I felt was the way they usually are is you bring together 10 speakers who all know each other. And then those speakers promote the summits to their databases. Mm-hmm. And then each of the speaker, when the summit starts, will sell their product. So for all the speakers, it's completely useless because they know each other. They could have just promoted each other anyway. For the audience, it's 10 pitches in a row, which is just an awful time. And for the promoter, it's awesome because they're getting everyone else's databases paying them commissions. So it's like a win for the promoter and loss for everyone else. And I said, I'm not doing that. We'll do it our way. And I think the reason why I was so adamant, and, even with us going through COVID, and which was really tough because we were a live events company and now we couldn't do it legally. We said, no, we're not going to take that easy money because it's not the way we do business. We're going to do it this way. And that goes back to, as you called it, our origin story, like how this whole started. So I'll tell you that story if you want.
Yes, I would love, everybody wants to know, because this is the age of the highlight reel, Daniel, right? Everybody sees the highlight reel, but we rarely see what happened before that. So please divulge, let us know what happened and how you got started there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's truly one of those, people believe success is a straight line, or they believe in the overnight success. And it was really fun. This summer, I got an award from one of our colleagues in the industry as the breakthrough event organizer of the year. And when he was on stage introducing me, he was kind of, these people came out of nowhere and just from nothing, they've created this huge event business. And I'm sitting there kind of going like, yeah, but I've been doing this for over a decade. I mean, I've been trying. I was just too small for you to hear of me until this year, So it's overnight success it's as they say with the musician who has that final hit. Yeah, that hit came after them spending 3 decades going on, pub by pub and taking any song gig they can, and then finally they have a song that hits and they're like, oh, overnight success. It's like, yeah, but it was 20 years in the making. So my pub crawl, so to speak, started, and I mean, there's been journeys through, but it really started when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and read the book, which is why it's really cool that Robert and Kim speak at our events now. But it started when I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I had no background in investing. No one in my history of my family has been an entrepreneur. And I got really inspired. I was looking at it and going, all right, I need to start acquiring assets, because that's really what the book is about. Acquire assets, avoid liabilities. So I'm like, great, let's get assets. And as soon as I finished reading the book, so I live in Sweden, and there was an ad that came up saying, do you want to learn to invest in real estate? And I kind of look up and go, wow, it's meant to be, right? Like, of course, this ad comes up like the day I finish reading the book. Yes, I want to invest in real estate. And it turns out it's a British company who came to Sweden and said, well, Sweden is not a very good investment market for real estate. And I said, yeah, I agree. It's heavily regulated. They said, but the UK is a very good market to invest in real estate because it's very similar to the US market when it comes to rules. So I said, great, that sounds amazing. Let's do it. And I decided to be, the good student. I said, great, let me get a mentor. I paid them about $20,000 for their mentorship program. And in it, they promised me that they would teach me how to invest in real estate. And more importantly, they would connect me to all the right people in the UK to do it properly. I'd get an accountant, I'd get a lawyer, I'd get, what in the UK they call them sourcing agents. In the US, that's wholesalers. And they building teams, surveyors, everyone I need to make a successful property deal. And I said, great, that's awesome. Here's my money. Let's do it. And so we went to the UK and they said, great. Now you're going to have to go and raise money because, well, you spent all of your money on our mentorship, but that's okay because you're not asking people to invest in you who has no experience. You're offering your team. Here is templates to raise finance. Like here is all the legal documentation you need. Just go and do your thing. And I said, amazing. I brought, this pack of information to family, to friends, and said, let's do this together. Invest with me. And they trusted me. And I had people give me their life savings, and we were going to set everyone up for huge success. And this was going to be an amazing journey we all do together. It turned out that this team I was introduced to was not the top people in the UK in a delivery sense, but they were very good at sending fake build reports, at skimming money off of the top. And, property is very slow. Real estate is very slow. So it took a while for us to realize, but by the end of it, we realized that we'd been ripped off for £400,000, which is about $500,000. And we went, okay. I'll never forget the call I got from my accountant, Michael. He called me up and said, Daniel, it's time to bankrupt your company. And now the thing is, for a listener in the US, they're like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't invest in an entrepreneur that hasn't bankrupted at least 3 companies in their life. Great job. You got that first step out of the way. It's not the same in Sweden. In Sweden, if you have bankrupted a company, you can kiss future credit in any venture you ever do goodbye. Like, your entrepreneurial journey is done at that point. So for me, I was like, okay, great. I got 40 more years of work. I might one day be retired and have that lifestyle I was after. So that was it in my head. But I said, Michael, what does this mean? He said, well, what we're going to do is you do have some assets. We'll sell off those assets, and we'll pay as much of the debt as we can, and then we'll just write off the rest, and then I'll start you a new company and you can start fresh. I said, wait, what? He's like, yeah, we'll set up a new company. You can start fresh. I'm like, that's amazing. Why didn't you tell me a year ago? Like, I haven't slept. Like, that's amazing. Restart button. Like, I've learned a lot in the last year. That's amazing news. And he's like, yeah, that's how we do it in the UK. I'm like, that's great. But then I asked a question that changed my life. I said, well, that's amazing. But what happens to my investors? Because, this isn't just people, like, this isn't paper people to me. This is friends and family who've trusted me with life savings. And he said, well, I mean, they invested in a failed property venture, so they've lost their money. Investing is hard. But hey, you'll be fine. You'll start over. I'm like, yeah. So I'll start over fresh. They lose their life savings. That doesn't make sense for me. We're not bankrupting the company. He said, but what other choice do you have? I said, I don't know. He said, well, how are you going to work it out? I don't know. So we should bankrupt the company. No, we're not. And we decided not to. And I actually went to the investors, and, it was a horrible conversation to have. But I actually ended up signing personal guarantees to the investors, which meant that I basically burned the bridge on ever having the option to just bankrupt the company, because then the debt would revert over to me. So I put myself in that situation and said, I will make do on it. I will figure it out. Michael still tells me to this day that I'm the only person he's ever met who's done something as stupid as that. But, it is what it is. But I had no idea how to figure it out. And then I saw another ad come up. This time, I think it was on Facebook. And it said, Robert Kiyosaki is coming to Oslo. So Oslo is the capital of Norway, which is the country next to Sweden. And so I got my family in the car and we drove for 6 hours to see Robert speak, to kind of go, okay, the book showed me that this is what I should do, but it wasn't enough, obviously. Maybe listening to him will show me what I did wrong and what do I do now. And the event was amazing. Like, there is so much more you can learn from actually hearing a person speak. But the biggest lesson I got wasn't actually the event itself, what he said. It was the fact that when we got to Norway, there were 2,000 people at this event. 1,000 of them were Swedish, who'd come from Sweden, who'd come from a different country to come and listen to this event. And so I went to the event organizer and I said, hey, thank you for putting this on. We're so happy, but why didn't you do this in Stockholm? You would have had so many more people. And they're like, no, we wouldn't. Swedes are not interested in this. I said, look around. There's 1,000 Norwegians who rolled out of bed and came here, and there's 1,000 of us who came from a different country to be here. Imagine if you'd done it in our backyard, you'd have so many more people. And they're like, nope, these are not Swedes.
Wow.
And I argued with them for an hour, and they said, no, you're American, because my dad's from San Francisco, so I have the accent. Like, you're not Swedish, you don't count. And I argued with it for an hour, and I realized that that was the perception that people had of Swedes, that Swedes are not interested in this. So we kind of got to that place where we're like, okay, so if we're going to figure this out, we need help. We need someone to come and tell us what to do, right? Just like we were talking about with these amazing mentors. Like, we need that guiding wisdom to go, this is what you need to do. But I couldn't, I was broke, right? I couldn't afford to travel internationally. I couldn't afford to buy coaching, and no one was going to come to Sweden and save me. But this company that we had been taught by had taught a lot of people, and we'd actually gathered a community. So we were literally hundreds of people in Sweden that would meet up at least once a month to kind of try to help each other out. And it was kind of like the blind leading the blind, but we had that community, and we realized, well, if we could bring a speaker to Sweden, that speaker can help our community, The speaker will be happy because we have a community. And then, like, we didn't want to make money. It was just like, if they can work together, then we can take the speaker out for dinner and get some free coaching. So we can figure out our real business by starting this little kind of, not-for-profit little thing and figure it out. And obviously this is what then grew into the Swedish Wealth Institute. But so we started bringing speakers over and we got some good advice, but we were still in this problem. We still didn't figure it out. And then I got a phone call from the company that did all of Tony Robbins' events in Europe. And they called me up and they said, Daniel, we've heard of your company. We've been recommended you. Would you like to be in charge of the Swedish market for all of Tony's European events? And I didn't at the time know who Tony Robbins was. So I didn't realize what an amazing thing this was. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, sounds fun. Maybe. And they're like, okay, this idiot obviously doesn't know who Tony Robbins is. So they kind of said, look, let us send a speaker to Sweden. He can speak to your community. He'll sell some tickets. You'll make a little money. And then we will pay to bring you to London and see him. And you'll understand why this is a big deal. And I said, hey, all right, free ticket to London. And I get I don't have to go recruit a speaker this month. Great. Let's go for it. And, this is how in tuned I was into this industry at the time. And he came over. It was a great little event. We had maybe 20, 30 people sign up to go to London. And I show up at the event, the doors open and there's 10,000 people and the energy is insane. And I kind of looked around and went, oh, okay. This is what Tony is all about. All right. That is really cool. And so it was Unleash the Power Within, his 4-day event. So I'm spending 4 days and I'm learning. But again, what changed my life wasn't what happened on stage. It was the fact that they had brought me in to be one of the partners. So I was invited to the backstage partner meeting. And, these are huge companies that brought thousands of people to this event. And I'm going like, yeah, we brought 20. Hey, that's me from Sweden. They were used to people coming in once and then never coming back. So they were kind of, standoffish and mingling with each other. But I did get to talk to a few and we built a little relationships. And the next year, we came back and we probably had 50, 60 people that time. And I got to meet everyone again. And they were kind of, oh, look, you're back. Okay, you're actually doing this. Great. And I started to get to talk to people. And a couple weeks after that second UPW, I got a phone call from Roland, who runs a company in Estonia. And, they brought hundreds and hundreds of people to the event. So I was, tiny player. But he said, I'm bringing Kim Kiyosaki and 3 of her friends on a European tour. Would you like her to stop by Stockholm? And I said, yes, I would. Yes, let's do an event with Kim Kiyosaki in Stockholm. That's insane. And after negotiation, she was coming to Estonia, Finland, and Stockholm. And I was able to negotiate. So we got her on the Saturday. So I think she had Wednesday in Estonia and I think it was Tuesday in Finland. And I said, that's fine. I will cover the extra days of hotel for her to stay in Stockholm, that interim period. And they were just happy to like, yeah, you take the cost, you do you. So we took them out to dinner, to lunch. We showed them around Stockholm. We got to know them really, really well. And obviously got to know Kim really, really well. And so as we were sitting at one of our lunches, I basically unfolded our portfolio and said, this is the situation we're in. We've been stuck here for years. We've had lots of people look at this and we still don't know what to do. Help. And Kim, obviously, she ran the property portfolio for her and Robert. So she's done over like 3,000 property deals, at least at the time. I'm sure it's more now. And she looked at it. And remember, we've been stuck in this for years, stressing like, this is all I've been thinking about for like 3 or 4 years, right? It took her 15 minutes to figure it out.
Wow.
She goes, restructure that debt, restructure that deal, and do 2 more deals like that, and you've balanced your books. I said, wait, what? He said, yes, restructure that deal, restructure that debt, and do 2 more deals like that, and you're done. And now, obviously, it took us years to actually do that, but for the first time in our investing career, we actually had a plan. We actually knew what to do. And that was when it truly clicked, the difference between a bad mentor and a good mentor. Like a bad mentor cost me, all my money, all my life savings, family and friends' life savings. They cost me my home because I ended up having to sell my home to try to pay down debt. And I can tell that story later if you want, about living at our summer house without running water. In the winter, by the way, when it's snowing in Sweden. And, it ended up costing me my marriage in the end.
Wow.
And then a good mentor, it takes 15 minutes to just figure it out.
So many lessons. Holy cow. It cost you your marriage, your life savings, your friends' life savings. It cost you years of frustration.
Years of stress and pain and my home, all of it. Yeah.
Because you went with the wrong mentor.
Yep.
This is why it is so important. And I stress this to people all the time. First off, we need a coach. Everybody needs a coach. You need a mentor. But it's finding the right ones. That's not easy, Daniel.
Oh, no.
Right? Because we're in an age right now where I like to say everyone's an expert.
Yeah.
Do you feel me with that? Like there's no shortage of experts out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've gotten into plenty of bad expert deals, right? Where I've lost $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 because people don't know what they're doing. They claim that they do, but they don't. And sometimes it's people you even think that maybe you're friends with them or something like that. So it's not easy to filter out. But that's why I love the platform that you've built so much, is because you've already done the filtering work. You've already done the vetting process. You've already siphoned through all of the noise to find the gold.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important for entrepreneurs, because we do need that mentor. We do need that coach, but nobody needs a bad one. It can take
I tend to split them into three different categories. And first I split them between coaches and mentors, right? I usually say a mentor is someone who basically just tells you what to do. They'll say, here's step 1, 2, 3, call me when you've done them and I'll give you 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
While a coach, their job is to help you figure out what is step 1, 2, 3. So it's a kind of a different methodology in my definition. But then among, mentors or among coaches, you have the ones that have written just the next chapter of the book, which can be great, right? If I'm here, they've taken 1 or 2 steps further, they can show you how to do that step. And if you understand that that is what they can do, then that's amazing. It's when they start presenting themselves as having written the entire book, that's when you'll have a problem. And then, of course, you do have those mentors that have written the entire book, and they might have written the sequel and the entire trilogy. And then you have those who are complete snake oil salesmen, that they might have written the entire book, but they don't care about you writing the book. They just want your money. So there are kind of those 3 different ones. And like when we started the company, I don't want to make it sound like, because we'd had, hundreds of speakers come on. It wasn't that they were bad speakers. And the reason why, only Kim could fix our problem, it was either they were in different industry, which meant they did not have an insight into our issue, or they were that kind of person that had, they were 1 or 2 chapters ahead, which meant that our problem was way too complex for their level of experience. And that was when we really realized that there is a difference, like between someone who's done maybe 50 property deals, which sounds like a lot, but then someone who's done 3,000. It's just a different league of information. So that's when we decided to shift our focus, and instead of helping people connect with someone who's written the next chapter or has done well, but not amazing, and said, look, we're just going to work with the best of the best. We're just going to work with Robert and Kim. We're just going to, promote Tony. We're just going to work with Jack Canfield and Les Brown. And like, we're just going to go to this absolute elite, and that will be what we do.
Wow. So inspiring on so many levels. And it speaks to the true heart of entrepreneurship, which is resilience.
Mm.
You know, it's so easy to give up. And in your situation, no one would have blamed you if you would have stopped. In fact, I'm sure people encouraged you to. They probably said, Daniel, listen, my friend, don't start another venture. We've had issues, you had this and that happen. It's okay. It's all right. If you want to go back to the 9 to 5, it's all right. Nobody's going to blame you. It's the people that get back up despite all the odds, despite what has happened in the past, despite what is happening right now. And I think that is, I think faith plays a big role in that it's almost like a certainty beyond logic.
Yeah.
Because on the logical surface, on a spreadsheet, it doesn't calculate, it doesn't compute. It's a certainty beyond logic to say, no, I will succeed despite the evidence. What do you think about that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm as you were saying that, I was thinking about my poor parents. I mean, they're still traumatized by everything I went through. I mean, I'm like every time I have a win, I'll send my parents a text now going like, hey, the US event did great. Here are the financials. My business is still solvent. We're good. And they're like, oh, thank God. Okay, we were really worried because that was a big event. I'm like, yes, we're fine. This is here is the next 12 months budget. Audit, my finance manager has set it up. Look, we're okay. Like, great. But we'll see how it is after the next event. Like they're still trying, and I'm still like, we're all kind of traumatized by it, which is, it is tough. It is really hard. And if you haven't been an entrepreneur and you don't have family who's been it, it's really hard to understand why you do what you do. And you're going to have up times, you're going to have the down times. And just like we were talking about earlier, you will look at yourself and go, man, I work so hard. I do so much. I think what I'm doing is really good, but I'm not seeing the results. What is wrong with me? Like, I look at Tara and she's this amazingly successful speaker and podcast host, and she's done this. And I want to be a coach and podcast host too, but I'm not getting the results. Like, what, if she's done it, I should be able to do it. And the fact that I haven't done it means I'm not as good. So I'm not enough. And in some cases, it's really just you're missing one part of the puzzle that a mentor like yourself could just go and look, I've done podcasts for years. All you need to do is do this and you'll figure it out. And that's that mentor part. Or in some cases, it's just, this is where I think a coach often comes in to look at, like, you see the incremental progress you're doing. You just haven't let it compound long enough. Because we as humans, I remember when they were doing the genome project, the guy who was running it was an expert at exponential curves.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'd set a timeline for, like, this is how long time it will take for us to finish the genome project. And at the end of half of the time, they had mapped about 1% of the genome. And so, people were interviewing him and going like, do you want to revise that timeline now? It doesn't really look very good. And he's like, no, you're thinking about it linearly. We aren't working linearly. We have figured out so much in this period that we're on an exponential curve. We're actually exactly on time to deliver. And like, yeah, right. You're just trying to keep your job. Good luck with that. They delivered. I don't remember if it was a month ahead or a month past schedule, but it was like right on the schedule he'd said, and halfway they were only 1% there. So that exponential curve, it looks like you're working so hard and you're having no progress at all. And I can give you an example of a really cool example of a social media like this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I interviewed Ron White on the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. And so shout out to Ron. And Ron is a 2-time US memory champion. And he's been using social media for years. And I'm about 6 months ago, he switched his strategy. So I'm not sure exactly how many followers he had before. It was somewhere, say 10 to 30,000 followers. So he was doing good. Like, he was doing well. He was above your average Joe, but like, he wasn't special. He was just another guy on social media. Well, during the interview, like while I was interviewing him that hour, he added over 5,000 followers just in that hour, because he had exploded. Like, at the time now when we're recording, let's say I checked this an hour ago, because I actually told the same story to our community because I thought it was so cool. And to me, it's just so inspiring, the fact that, you know, it's possible to become a successful on anything, including social media. Yeah. So now, at the time of this recording, he has 798,000 in 6 months. He has, I think it was 780,000 3 hours ago. Like, he is blowing up, and his content is amazing. That's why, obviously. But the fact is, he's been doing what he's been doing for whatever it is, 20 years. And took him 20 years to get to, 10,000 followers. And then it's going to take him, 9 months to get to 1 million.
Oh, that's
and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine going back to him in 6 months and telling him, in 9 months, you're going to have 1 million followers? He would just laugh you out of the office. He's like, yeah, right. Like, that's going to happen. But hey, it did.
It makes me think of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That image is permanently etched in my mind. It's just right in the forefront of my mind, and I keep it there every single day. And he shares a story in that book of someone who bought a piece of land and was digging for gold and gave up.
Yeah.
He gave up. And again, nobody blamed him for giving up, but he gave up, sold the land. Somebody else bought the property. They hired an expert. They hired a strategist, somebody that knew and understood where gold veins were. That expert was able to narrow down where it could be, right? Nothing is 100% all the time, but they narrowed it down, and they started digging in this very narrowed down area. Well, guess what they struck? They struck gold. Now, in that book, they talk about, only being 3 foot away from gold. And the fact of it is that we are all in a gold mine. We all have a pickaxe. We have a helmet with a lamp. Sometimes we give up when we're 1 strike too short, or 2 or 3 strikes. But at any point in time, there's opportunity right there. Sometimes we can't see it yet. And that's the importance and the power of that compounded action over time. You have to be, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be the resilient one. You have to be the one that says, know what? I'm not going to sleep until I take 1 more strike or email or send 1 more call or whatever it is, right? Insert whatever relevancy, right? I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to turn in for the day until I do this 1 more thing. And if you have that mindset, and that's not easy to develop, by the way, because we live in kind of a quitting culture kind of world. But if you can develop that mindset, I will go ahead and say this and make a really audacious claim. Success is inevitable. It's certain. I'm not going to say it's going to happen tomorrow, but it is absolutely certain you will be successful. What do you think about that?
Well, you made one really cool point that I should have mentioned about Ron, was he hired a strategist. He brought on an expert in social media, and the expert gave him this new strategy. And now he still had to tweak it. It wasn't like it was in theory perfect. They played it in reality, and then they iterated on it, and it exploded. But it all started with bringing on this expert to kind of go, just, dude, this is what you should be doing. And again, that was his, what I call my Kim Kiyosaki moment, right? That person that's done it a million times, that knows exactly how to do it, just looks at what you're doing and like, oh, all you need to do is this. It's not so hard. And it's like, yeah, for you. But now that I know, now I can do it too. But figuring out that secret that is so obvious for them, that's the hard part of being an entrepreneur. And that is where a mentor changes the game for me. And that's the goal of all of our events. We bring about 20 speakers to one event. So it is overwhelming. Like those events, you are fried by the end of it. Well, what you'll find is 1, 2, 3 experts that could be your Kim Kiyosaki and help you fix that problem. And that's what we're always hoping to do. And that's what we do with the podcast as well, like interviewing Ron. And, obviously he was teaching me about memory, but as a side note, it's like, hey, hope, social media, you can actually become a million follower person. It happens.
Wow, it happens. I love that. It's so powerful. The power of hiring somebody that's a strategist, somebody that knows what they're doing. Somebody that walks the walk, talks the talk, that has done it, been there, done that. It's priceless, right? And they can just take your growth curve exponentially through the roof. So I encourage anybody who's listening to this today, whatever your goals may be, find that mentor, find that coach, find that strategist, find that person, and you're probably going to find them on the Swedish Wealth Institute. Right?
Well, we try. I mean, we spend so much time trying to figure out who are the bad mentors, because this problem is the snake oil salesmen tend to be the best at presenting themselves as, these amazing mentors. And it really takes digging deep, like reviewing their programs, all this stuff, to figure out that, no, this person is not doing what they claim to be doing. And so we spend so much time with that. And I mean, even we can get it wrong. So we always listen to our audience. And when they tell us this person isn't delivering, we'll fire that speaker. But generally now, after doing this for years now, we have an amazing lineup of absolutely amazing speakers, so that, it's not real. Your evaluation can shift from, is this person actually legit or not? It can shift to, is this person the right person for me? Because there are so many opportunities. Like you come into that room, it's 20 different amazing opportunities, or you listen to our podcast and there's a new speaker every week, right? And you kind of have to go, well, that was a really cool strategy, but it's not the cool strategy for me, because I can't do all of them. Like, this is what I need. And that's what makes it so fun to run those events.
Oh my gosh, Daniel, any last words of wisdom for entrepreneurs out there? Because that's who this audience is. Any entrepreneurs out there who are listening to this right now, and maybe they're right now in the spot you were in, right? And they're saying, I'm a failure. I can't believe I did this. Maybe their family is even kind of bashing them. They just feel like, you know what, that's it. I'm going to throw my hands up in the air and I'm going to give up on this dream. What would you say to that person listening?
Well, I'm going to refer to your wisdom on it, because you said it so well that, if you keep going, success is inevitable. Like, it will take much longer maybe than you would like it to, but it is inevitable. What we say in the team, our goal every day for the Swedish Wealth Institute team is for everyone in their part of the business, whatever they're in charge of, to make it 1% better every day. And, that might be something so small as just, creating a new document to make sure we don't miss something, or that we double check something, or just automating this one little process. Like, it can be tiny things, but if everyone in the team does one tiny thing every day, or if you do one tiny thing in one or more areas of your life every day, that just makes things a little easier, a little simpler, a little quicker, a little smarter, you are unstoppable. That compounds like crazy. And that can be habits like, obviously you're listening to this podcast, so you already have positive habits. So that could be just adding another source of information. That could be getting that right mentor. And obviously we're happy to make that introduction. But it can also be something as simple as, the first thing I do in the morning is, as Brian Tracy shared on our event this weekend, is write down your top 10 goals. or do a gratitude list, or just, add one little habit. If you do something every day that just makes you a little bit better and you don't give up and you keep going, you are unstoppable. 1% better every day means you get twice as good every 2 months.
Unstoppable.
You are unstoppable.
Unstoppable. I always say that to people. I'm not the smartest person. I don't have the most degrees, but what I do have is relentless tenacity. You can't stop me, and I will outwork anybody. It's just a fact. If you have that mindset, you will be unstoppable and success will be inevitable. Daniel, where can everybody look you up online? Where can they find more information about you? Because I know people are really going to be interested, especially in these events and your community and your podcast. Where are the best places to look you up?
Well, I appreciate that. We try to be everywhere. So you can listen to the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. We're on pretty much every podcast platform. So just search for the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast. And we've interviewed some amazing people. I've had Les Brown on there. We've had Nick Vujicic. We got Joseph McClendon III, Rob Moore. And actually, Robert Kiyosaki just agreed to come on the show. So I'm really excited about that one. And obviously, Ron White. And lots more, right? We have Jack Canfield has agreed to come on. John DeMartini has agreed to come on, and we're working on more and more speakers. So that's a great resource. Otherwise, you can go to the SwedishWealthInstitute.com website. So it's Swedish Wealth Institute. So not health, wealth, .com. There you can scroll down. We have a wealth blueprint you can download, and you can start connecting with us. It's got some really cool stuff in that. Or go to the events page, which is just /events, and we'll give you a free ticket to any of our upcoming events, any of our 4-day summits or shorter events that we run, or just connect with us on social media. My handle on Instagram is Real Daniel Wood. We have the Swedish Wealth Institute AB is our profile. So, we do a lot there. We share a lot of behind the scenes stuff and things that are going on around. So we'd love to connect with you on any and all the platforms.
And I will say this, I'm a proud member of your community that you launched. I love it. It's a great place to connect with other entrepreneurs. So highly recommend that as well. And, it's a great place to, again, find like-minded people, connect with others going through your same journey, and then find those high-level mentors and get more exclusive access to things as well. So
I can share one little surprise that we haven't actually announced yet to the community, because we haven't finished all the details yet. But with the community, we're going to start a project next year, which will include us winning a Guinness World Record. And every single person in the community will actually, because they'll all be a part of it. So everyone will be able to say, I'm a Guinness World Record holder as a member of the community. Yeah. So Tara, you are hopefully within the next 12 months, you will now have a Guinness World Record on your resume.
I'll take it. I'll take all the help I can get, right? I love it. Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for being an amazing guest on this episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned into this episode. This has been a phenomenal experience, and this may be one of those ones that you want to listen to maybe more than once and share it as well. Sharing is caring. Spread this message to other entrepreneurs out there, because we're all struggling with something, and the right mentor can help. So this will be that encouragement that those folks need to go to that next level of success in life and business. We will catch you on the next episode. Take care.